Uh, yes. Welcome to Come Well to another episode, another doorway, another portal entitled Am I as I am, as you are? Today we're going to touch upon topic. Uh, let's just get right to it. Today's topic is entitled What is Good and Bad? So, what is this thing we call good and bad? Bad and good. Um, I guess this episode can kind of be related to the other episode I had on what is judgment, because judgment has something to do with today's topic as well. Um, and I guess pretty much we're going to dive right into it and take things from this point forward. Okay, so what is good and bad? Of course, you're already know regular format. How we do this on this video cast, which is taking line for line, what I may say, doorway after doorway, and together we walk down this hallway. Okay? All right. So the first line and or doorway is the flowing of blood, the location of play. So when I'm pertaining to good and bad, or what is good and what is bad, what are these things called good and bad? Um, Once again, it directly connects in relation with the left brain and right brain hemisphere. Or we may call something good, or may call something bad, or may call something good and call something bad. We're playing in these locations of the brain whenever judgment takes place. So judgment just means split or splitting or causing the split or playing in the split sides. This is what judging or judgment is. Playing in a split side, playing on one side of the fence and playing on the other side of the fence. Saying this side of the fence is saying that side is good, that side is bad. This side of the fence saying that side is good, that side is bad. And we're playing in this play of judgment. And inside of the play of judgment is where we call things and people good and bad. So the flowing of blood and the location of play. To understand what I'm talking about is having a little slight understanding of biology and chemistry and what happens inside your biology as you start to judge and call things good and bad, right or wrong, pure and evil. Um, if one side is one thing and the other side is another thing, the more you play on this side, the more you play on this side to understand biology, what happens in the body. Whatever location or part that you're playing in the most, or whatever you're giving your attention to the most, blood flow, the flowing of blood goes to that area. So the flowing of blood goes to the right part of the brain, the flowing of blood goes to the left part of the brain. The flowing of blood goes to the right part of the brain and to the left part of the brain, back and forth. Like as I touch things, as I'm touching my leg, the blood is flowing to my hands in order to pick up the information of what it is that I am touching. So if you're playing in the good and bad aspect, which is the left brain and right brain hemisphere, blood is flowing there to that part. And the more blood flows there, the more cells are present there as well. The more cells are there, the more oxygen rich it becomes. So you can get caught in these um, oxygen rich locations of the body and the brain. So meaning that the more oxygen rich that location, that part of the body becomes, that organ or that muscle, whatever may happen, that may become, the more fluid, the more fluidity exists in that section or in that part or in that location, which means that you become kind of fixed in that area of interest. Your attention becomes fixed there and the other side gets deprived. Or you can be in both parts, the good and bad, the bad and the good, or the left brain and right brain and left brain, and make these sides so rich in oxygen and oxygen flow and fluidity that the corpus calostrum in the middle becomes deprived of your attention. It becomes deprived of blood flowing through that stream. So the middle part gets deprived, then the middle part is also symbolic of your spiritual nature, or your nature of nothingness, or your true emptiness, or your true zero, which you truly are. So you get caught in the side picking, in the seesaw of reality, the seesaw experience. One side to the other, one side to the other, one side to the other, and never enriching your corpus calostrum. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just, what are you growing? What are you giving your attention to? What are you sprouting? Because that is where you become fixed at eventually. Okay? Go more into that a little bit more. So basically it just means the more human you are becoming, or the more human you are remaining. Or like that. For better words, a better understanding. Okay, the next line and or doorway is to imbue ego, to make the human and brain feel important above all else, because this is the only place and space where it exists. There's nothing here to validate to itself besides itself. The ego, once again, thinking that you're right, or thinking that they're wrong, or thinking that that's wrong when you're right, and you're mighty, and you know everything. They know nothing. They're stupid. They're ignorant. I'm wise. You know, putting yourself on this pedestal, this grandiose pedestal of superiority and supreme to some degree. And you're not doing anything but feeding your ego. The more stronger your ego gets, the more dull your awareness becomes. Okay, so picking sides, I'm good, he's bad. Oh damn, I'm doing bad, but they're doing good. Whatever you're saying, whatever you're doing, however you're directing your attention within your mind and letting it sit in your brain, it's playing with these brain parts, leaving you in the body stuck inside the nervous system, which is why you may have bad nerves. When people say, I have bad nerves, I have no patience. I lose my temper quick. I'm losing my mind. I'm becoming insane. You're diving deeper and deeper into the realms of the third dimension or third density. So you are imbuing ego. Just by playing in the good side or the bad side, doesn't matter. You're still enriching the ego's purpose, which means you're becoming far from your true divine purpose, your true divine nature, your true divine existence. The more you play in the side picking, okay? And things like sports and politics and stuff like that, that also feeds and enriches the illusion of sides. Okay. The next line in our doorway is, there's no such thing as good and bad, only standards and consequences, something which is beneficial to you and non-beneficial to you. Everything is either pro your cause or against your cause. And your cause is whatever it is in that moment, however you want, whoever you are, and whatever you're trying to accomplish and do. Sometimes you do good actions for bad reasons and bad actions for good reasons. In other words, one way or another, you will find yourself playing on both sides of this fence, depending on what situations and circumstances you find yourself in and place yourself within. So you're going to use the highest nature of yourself and the lowest nature of yourself in different circumstances. Like one example, if somebody's coming at your child with a knife and you have a gun on you, and you see them coming at your child, but your child doesn't see them coming, what are you going to do? You're going to pull out and you're going to shoot that individual. Before that individual gets to harm your child, you're going to protect yourself and protect your child. So you can say killing somebody or shooting somebody is bad, but you just did it for a good reason. See, so you can always see the other flip side of the scenario as well, where they do something good for maybe a not so great reason. So you're going to use your higher nature and your lower nature, what they call God and devil, quote unquote. You're going to use your highest and your lowest at certain times. You're going to vacillate back and forth. and utilize these devices uh, along your experience, your human experience. And this is not something to place judgment upon yourself for or about, because it's just something which is needed at certain times for whatever reason. An important reason, important enough to commit the action. No, so yeah, something is either beneficial to you or not beneficial to you, which you may call good or bad. No, it's another way of looking at it. Okay, we'll get into that a little bit more. The next line in our doorway is: one side validates the existence of the other side. In order to be doing good, at one time you had to have been doing bad. So what's to judge about either one of these things? Because even when you're saying you're doing good, that means you're still validating the bad. And even if you say I'm doing bad, it's still validating that you was once doing good. Because why would you even speak of these things to begin with? Why would you even pronounce them? Why would you even give thought to them? Or give thought to it, whatever side that you're speaking of in that moment? Because you're validating unknowingly, knowingly or unknowingly, the other side. Automatically, simultaneously. So it's just saying, I'm just saying, there's no real need to pick a side. Let the sides be and play on both sides. Play on both sides of the fence. Both sides. Not willingly or participating or being voluntary. Just let things be as they are, and you find yourself where you may, without judgment, self-judgment, or judgment upon others. And you're gonna do this. You're gonna judge others. You may judge yourself with the mental dialogue and abusing yourself mentally. Um, or going through mental dialogue, like I said, self-judgment, judging of others. But when these things happen and occur, just understand that you have to retreat back to your sentiness, to your nothing, or else these things will keep your attention and pull you to it. Yeah, we're good, we're good, we're good, we're good. They're bad, they're bad, they're bad, they're bad. And it'll pull you to it. So when you give your attention, you speak of it according to whatever situation that you're in, always remember to retreat back and retrieve back to that point of where it came from, which is true nothing. Because when you say something is good, when you say something is bad, it's coming from a sense of nothing. It's coming from a point of silence. So always retrieve back to that place which it derived from primarily in the first place to begin with. Come back to that, or retrieve back to that. Get back to that immediately, because you will get stuck in those outer reaches of what good and what bad is. Okay, so pull back, even when you judge something. And I said, that motherfucker's an idiot. You know, she's stupid. I don't like that. I don't like that. You know, say, well, hold on, just chill. I know there's a certain kind of repellent energy between me and this individual. I'm gonna play my distance still over here without judging the individual. The energy speaks for itself. I don't have to speak or even think it. It speaks for itself. That's why you have energy. Energy reads other people and other things. You don't necessarily have to go in your thought Rolodex or speak it or pronounce it or even act it. Just be what you are as you are. And it'll unfold and unravel before you. See, and you then, from that point on, you move accordingly. Instead of putting so much thought and words on it, in it. There's no need for all that. Comprende? Okay. The next line in our doorway is, it's just a meter, M-E-T-E-R, a pointing meter. But the whole catch is you are the meter, not the size at which the meter is pointing to or pointing towards. That's why you're always trying to get your point across, or saying, what's the point? Or point me the way, point me towards the way. Or you get my point, or don't point at people. Our very nature is in our very nature of language is in our very nature of being. Derives from our very nature of being. You see, so saying something is good or bad, you are the meter, which is going like this: good, bad, wrong, right, Pure evil. So we get lost in that which is the very point of something. The very point of the meter is where we get lost, and then we get lost in what it's pointing to, rather than just understanding that we are this meter, and that we're not just the meter itself, but we're the very ball at the end of it that is making the meter go. And once you understand you're the very ball of it, then you cancel out the ball and you understand that this is just a play of choosing and deciding, choice and decision, giving attention to this and giving attention to that, calling this out a certain way and calling that out a certain way. So understand that it's just a meter or metering. It's just a point, as a matter of fact. It's pointing this way and it's pointing that way, pointing this way and pointing that way. And you get rid of the point and then you say, okay, it's just a meter. And then you get rid of the meter and you say, oh, it's just a ball at the bottom. That's turning the meter. That's what I am. I'm the ball at the bottom, turning the meter. And then you say, I'm just the ball at the bottom. And then you say, I'm not the ball because I can recognize and realize there's a ball at the bottom, swinging the meter back and forth. So now where am I? And this is the whole point. Like I said, spirituality is about receding, to recede back to that point of nothing. Truly, no thing, nothing, emptiness, zero. But emptiness, nothing, and zero is not a place where you can stay and sit and be comfortable and relax and, okay, yeah, I'm nothing, I'm zero, I'm empty. Yeah, this feels comfortable. Yeah. No, because you're in a place of doing. All I'm saying is to acknowledge and give attention to your being. No matter how much your attention goes out into the physical reality and you start in your human shit, what you're doing from a human standpoint, but always remain attentive to that primal thing that you are, instead of where this primal thing is giving attention to through the aspect or the physical vehicle of you. You know what I'm saying? So it's that kind of understanding. And of course, we get a little more into it, a little more clarity. Hopefully we'll come to most of y'all as we go along. Okay. The next line in our doorway is brain and heart, heart and brain. The brain thinks the heart is bad and the heart thinks the brain is bad. It's an internal hidden battle you are having within yourself. Yeah, pretty much so. I mean, you have these two different things. The brain is in thought. The heart, of course, is known as the mind. So you have these inner battles, these internal battles. Um, and these things hold different capabilities. These organs or these different places or locations in the body hold different capabilities and can play different effects on your thinking. Okay, so, and not saying that it's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to do that. It's going to do that. It's inevitable. You're going to go through these playing of sides. Because everybody has their own perception, perspective on life, a way of living, a lifestyle, and what they see fit and suitable for their own personal and private needs and wants. So we're gonna have these disagreements or agreements, conflict, arguments, friction of any sort, chaos for nature's just because we are fixed in a certain way. We are a certain way. I'm saying we are a certain way based upon our experience, how we were trained and taught subconsciously, and how we are retraining ourselves consciously. So we're going through these different levels or these different realms within ourselves. So you're gonna go through these internal battles, and certain things happen in certain locations of the body where memory gets put there and stuck there. So it has an effect on our thought and our thinking pattern at certain times as well, like the battle with the inner organs. And the heart plays a position in the role, and so does the brain. And they may be similar in certain ways, but they're also very estranged from each other, which is why they're in two different locations of the body. Okay, something to think about. Okay, the next line in our doorway is Cellular division. Cellular division. Dealing with number sequence, ratio, things of that nature. Um, See, when cells, when the man cell hits the woman's egg or whatever, things are turned into two cells. Or I'm trying to explain this. A cell is split into two. Something happens, a cell gets split into two, and the two turns into four, and the four turns into eight, and the eight turns into 16, 16 turns into 32. And this is cellular activity. So as soon as something happens, it's split into two. And just from this 2, it starts going into 4, 8, 16, and 32, and so on and so on, and 64, and so on. Just that split into 2 is you and this brain. So an impact or something happens to you, it automatically splits you in two. A situation happens, you're going to have two different point of views on it. See, so something happens, you're going to be split into two every time. But understand that that two that was split derived from the one, which was. So no matter how many 2 and 4 and 8s and how many times you keep splitting up into these even sides of even numbers on each side and getting broken up and broken up and broken up and broken up and broken up, these things come from a center point of some sort. And that's the whole point, is not to lose focus of that center point of existence. Never lose focus of that. No matter how much these sides may split and split and split and split, don't split yourself into too many different things. You're going to get lost in the splitting, or the splitting sides, or the sides that were split, or the sides that became sides from the split, rather than understanding where that split occurred from. Why did it split? What happened to make the split happen? And once again, this is also related to good and bad, bad and good, and being so diving so deep into the good aspect of things that you forget all about the bad, and you get so enriched in the good side, the other side gets deprived. This is why you start to think that no, everybody's bad and you're a good person. It goes into a kind of psychosis of some nature. Something happens to the psychosis of an individual. It becomes imbalance of some sort, some way, for understanding. Okay. The next line of doorway is, every individual is in a way indivisible. By the laws of nature, by the laws of mind, and by the laws of body. Split brain, split testicles, split ovaries, spirit and body, doing and being, etc. It is from this primal platform of mind and body from which you feel the need and or want to broadcast judgment and place judgment upon others and other things. The more you judge, the more you feel special or begin to specialize your humanism. The individual or middle thing gives reference to the indivisible sided thing. Or individual, pardon me, every individual is divisible in some way. So this is the divisible thing, the dividing aspect. You are a divided thing. The individual middle thing gives reference to the divisible sided thing. Once again, like I said before, starting from the most primal point of your existence, you are this thing which is individual, which is what we might say spiritual or soul, something which is indivisible. You can't divide that. But this thing that is indivisible has this mechanism over itself which is divisible, or can be divided, or is divided and can be divided multiple times after that, mentally, because there is a certain standard. I mean, your skin can split, it can tear, it can rip, you can even divide that. Somebody can split the body in half and put that side to that side and that side, and you can split again. Right now, you are split. Left hand, left leg, right leg, left eye, right eye, left nostril, right nostril, left ear, right ear, left testicle, right testicle, left ovary, right ovary, left breast, right breast, left chest, right chest. We all split. But this thing that is split can be split mentally even more, and even literally. Somebody can cut your arm in half and you can have two parts of an arm. and cut it into three and cut it into four and cut it into five. The same thing with the body. You can slice the body in half and you can have two parts of one body. So you can be split literally and you can be split mentally. But that thing which is there, which may leave the body if something happens like that to a person, is the thing which is indivisible. So an individual is indivisible, or the individual has something which is indivisible, and the individual is something which can be divisible or divided, which means, once again, it validates and confirms the whole good and bad aspect, the bad and good thing. The more that happens, somebody gets split in some way, some trauma, something happens. It causes pain, which means that they become more anchored within the body and the nervous system and the nerves, and which means they get more trapped inside the physical realm. What do you think happens when you start to split yourself mentally into good and bad, bad and good, pure and evil, right and wrong? You dive deeper into the realms of third density, mentally and then also physically, because your good thinking pattern or bad thinking pattern starts to trickle down into your biology and your DNA. And this is when people think everything is bad, food is bad, people are bad, this place is bad, everything is bad, 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 bad. Even when you speak in the word bad, it has a vibration. Good has a vibration. From the voice box, from your intent to the voice box, to the esophagus, the throat, to the mouth, and pronounced. All this is sending a whole vibration and tone from the inner body to the outer body. And also that thinking is also trickling into your bloodstream. And this is why people get ailments and sickness and unease states in their body, stagnation of vibration, blockage of energy because of their way of thinking. Even thinking that everything is good is also a certain kind of ailment or a certain kind of imbalanced psychosis, just like thinking something is bad. The same results. So it's not to get too fixed in either one of these sides, but just play with these sides and use these sides as tools to navigate yourself and guide yourself through this reality. But never place yourself in either one of these seats. Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind and heart. The next line in our doorway is, okay, believe in something called God. It's okay. But guess what? Something else called devil also exists here in the same reality which you exist in. Why cancel out either reality which exists in the same existence that you exist within? Learn to utilize both devices or both realities and both natures to your benefit in whatever way, without judgment of either one of these realities. Abandonment, neglection, or rejection of either one of these realities is equivalent to abandoning, neglecting, and rejecting your own reality as a whole in totality. Well, what do I mean? Okay, well, like a lot of people would say, well, we believe in God, and no, there's no devil, there's only God, and it's all about God and God and God and God. Once again, why are you even saying that unless you're validating something called the devil? Because even when you speak of God, you're still saying the devil exists. So people can be in all this energy called the devil, or this belief called the devil exists. However you want to put it, whatever understanding you want to put it in your own language of what I'm speaking. You're still validating there's another side, because why would you even be speaking about one side to begin with unless you were actually trying to cancel out or eliminate or ignore another side of its whole reality of itself. So it's like, yeah, okay, I understand that without judgment of either one of these, um, both realities, utilize it to your benefit. Like I said, the highest nature, the higher nature, and your lowest nature, or the lower nature, utilize both of these things, so they will be utilized in certain circumstances in your life and situations, life or death situations, survival situations, and just regular choice and decision at certain times for whatever reason, however it may come. So you could ignore the devil all you want and be in God, but guess what? You're in the same place around the same individuals and beings which talk about something called the devil, and you exist right around them. This is where you at. This is where you exist at. So why cancel out something which you exist within, a reality you exist within? And if you decide to put your mind and your focus and your attention on only one side of this polarity, only one side of this reality, that's equivalent to only nurturing or giving attention to one side of your experience. You're not embracing the other side. I'm not saying to love the devil or to love God. I'm saying just embrace it. Make it a part of you in some sort of way. Not become the devil, not become God. I'm just saying, learn to embrace it and infuse it with you in some way. Have a deeper understanding of it. Understand the message of it, what it's actually saying besides what it's trying to imply. What is this thing actually saying? Get the message without judgment. This is how you do it, without judgment, without saying that's good and that's bad. Just see what it means to you without judgment, without believing stories and history. What is that thing called DEVIL? What is that thing called God? What are these things? Why does this exist with this in the same place? And why does this exist with this in the same place? Why are we all around both of these polarities? You could turn your back on one polarity all you want and be over here, not pay attention to what's behind you all you want, be over here, and you can turn your back on one polarity all you want. It ain't doing nothing to nothing. But what are you turning your back to? Because the more you turn your back to something, the more you're validating its existence. So the more you're about God, the more you're validating devil. And so on, vice versa, whether you know it or not. Because what are you turning your back to? You're turning your back to some kind of reality which you are not giving attention to. I'm not saying become neither one. All I'm saying is acknowledge both sides of this polarity, of this reality which you exist in amongst others, which also exist around you. Saying you popped up in this reality where both of these things exist. You didn't pop up in God reality and just live God. You didn't pop up in devil reality and just live devil. You popped up in a reality where both of these extremes exist. So learn to embrace both of these extremes. Not to worship any one of these extremes or worship both of these extremes or try to become both of these extremes or become possessed by both of these extremes. Just embrace it and accept it. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge it, most importantly. Because you resisting something, you're only giving strength to it. So if you on your God shit and you're resisting the whole devil aspect, you're only giving strength to the devil reality. And if you're of satanic or devil nature and you're resisting the God, you atheist or whatever it may be, you're only making the God stronger, or the God aspect or the God understanding stronger. Because resisting something is giving strength to that something, which is why I say just acknowledge it, learn to embrace it, accept it as the place where you currently are having an experience within, as the place and space where your existence is having a human experience within. Okay? Go to the next one. The next line in our doorway is moral is mortal or mortal, feeding and accelerating your mortality, playing in the mortal realm of existence, playing with the dying aspect or death aspect of your experience. So once again, judgment, good and bad, this is all based upon morals, a kind of moralistic way of looking at something. 1 second. So this is based upon morals. I have morals. So the more you play in morals, the more you are playing in the mortal. The mortal means something which dies. You're playing in the dying aspect. You're already dying anyway. So why give more energy and more strength to that dying aspect of yourself? Why don't you give more strength to the living aspect of yourself? And yes, life is death and death is life. But I'm saying as far as where to put your attention to, willingly put your attention to. Put it to the part which isn't of a dying nature, because you're dying anyway. The nature is dying. It's in the death process anyway. Why don't you try to put your attention elsewhere in something that which isn't good or bad, pure or evil, right or wrong. I told you, good and bad, pure and evil, right or wrong, derive from something which has nothing to do with neither or. It is the creation of both illusions of good and bad. It is the creation of both illusions of pure and evil. It is the creation of both illusions called right and wrong. You are creating this illusion. You're creating this seesaw effect. Who taught you right and wrong? Who taught you something was good or bad? You were taught about pure and evil. But was that really you to begin with? Or was that something that you were taught? So these are things to keep in mind as you travel along your path to receive your calling. Okay? And answer the message. Or check your messages. In other words. So that's the whole point right there. So let's get back to it. The next line and or doorway is, once again, I was touching upon this before, both good and bad exist here. Both good and bad exist together. Both good and bad exist here, and both good and bad exist together. You can't have something good without having something bad. You can't have something bad without something being good. So attaching yourself to one energy or extreme is latching onto the other one and pulling it and dragging it. Which is why I said once again, you can't give attention to one side without validating the other side unknowingly. And the same thing here. I can't give my attention to here without validating this side of the reality. Understand? So that's just how this place goes. That's just how shit is just here. This is how this place runs. Okay? Something to keep in mind. And heart. Come on. Next line and or doorway is, both polarities exist together to richly develop both sides of the brain. Once again, I was touching upon before, to richly develop the energy of emotion as well. So good and bad, whether you call something good or bad or judge something as right or wrong, it ain't doing nothing but feeding your emotions, feeding your feeling, and intensifying the illusional experience of the human body and brain. So you ain't doing nothing but being more of the body, being more of humanity, being more human, being more physical, being more dense, being more dimensional. And dimension just means depth. You're becoming more deeper, sinking deeper and anchoring yourself deeper in this human damn vehicle, this mortal vehicle, this dying vehicle. Why choose to do that wisely? Where's the wisdom at? Is that a wise choice and a wise decision, especially if you are aware? Especially if you call yourself conscious. Why willingly choose to do that and is that a wise decision? I'll let you all decide that. But like I said, you're to richly develop the energy of emotion as well. You're making emotion and feeling a very rich thing. And like I said, the more rich it becomes, the more oxygen it gets, the more fluid it becomes, the more fluid it is, the more you find yourself fluid within it and get lost within it, can get potentially lost within it. If your awareness is not that keen and that sharp and that clear. Okay. The next line and or doorway is to give you a sense and understanding of feeling. Once again, in order to give you an experience of what feeling is. So good and bad ain't doing nothing but letting you get an understanding, a sense, and a feeling of what feeling is. It's saying this is what feeling is, this is what emotion is, this is what feeling is, this is what emotion is, this is what feeling is, this is what emotion is. And you ain't doing nothing but becoming more and more and more, anchoring yourself deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the third dimensional reality, what you call the human body. So it's just it's making this dead thing more alive. And the more alive this dead thing becomes, the more dead your aliveness becomes. or your aliveness becomes your moment vehicle, your moment device. Or the more dull your moment becomes, the more you become detached from the understanding of what a moment is, the importance and significance of your liveliness or your livelihood or being live. Okay? This also relates to spirit. The next line in our doorway is to substantiate, validate, and confirm the existence of polarity. So you ain't doing nothing but confirming, validating, and substantiating the existence of polarity. Because the more you play in polarity, the more you're giving strength to polarity, the more you're giving your attention to polarity. Then you get lost in polarity. Now you got lost in the left brain and right brain hemisphere. You lost total sight of the corpus callosum, which sprouts both of these illusions. So now the corpus callosum becomes once again abandoned, neglected, and rejected. And now you're stuck in the left brain and right brain hemisphere. So you're stuck in polarity. Rather than that which polarizes, the polarizer, that polarizes the polarity, or the existence, or the illusion, or the experience of polarity. Remain the Polaroid. No. The Polaroid of thoughts, pictures. And the polarity creates this Polaroid. So you are the polarizer that polarizes the illusion of polarity. And then you get stuck now in the Polaroid picture with your thoughts and your feelings and your emotion. Now you got to get back from the picture to that which polarizes. You got to get back from the picture, the Polaroid, back to the polarizer. It's practice. Okay? The next line in our doorway is to validate that you are an anonymous in-between phenomenon of existence. If you are aware of when you say something is good or when something is bad, or judging something and playing in a seesaw illusion, if you really look at it and you're really aware of what's really going on, you will see that you keep bouncing back and forth from one side to the other, and sooner or later you should become sick of this. You should basically get hip to it. You should say there's something going on here. This whole back and forth action. What the hell is going on here? Because I can go this way and I can go that way, which means I'm neither way to begin with. So where am I? And that's when you begin to cancel out both sides. You begin to cancel out both illusions. You begin to cancel out both polarities. And when you cancel that out, this arrives. So this cancels out, this rises. And this rising is the true nothing and the true zero of what you truly are. So the more you cancel these out, the more lower these become, the more middle this arrives. You see? But this arising gets lower because these polarities are rising and you're playing in both of these. So learn to cancel out this, eliminate these, and let that middle rise. And this is a martial art move as well. So it's called the rising of the flower. So it's pushing both polarities out and letting the middle push out. So that's the whole point of having an aha moment. That I'm playing on both sides, to side, to side, to side, to side, to side. You should become aware and sick of this cycle because you are becoming a psycho, getting stuck in your psychosis, poisoning your, causing a stagnation in your psychology and creating a poison in your own biology. You know what I'm saying? Creating a dangerous formula for poisonous chemistry within the body and the brain. You become trapped in these things, like cells. Everything they called cell. We think cells are called cells. You have jail cells. And you get trapped behind the bars or trapped inside of your cells, your cellular network, your body. And you begin doing time in there. All from judging, all from saying that something is good and something is bad. or just becoming fixed in one of these polarities, or both of these polarities, or both these illusional sides, giving too much damn attention and focus into it and concentration on it, you lose your whole aspect of yourself, okay? Your true self. So stop indulging in both sides of these experiences too much. You're indulging too much into both sides of this experience of, too much, doing too much indulging and getting swallowed into each polarity constantly, consistently, okay? Something to be aware of once again. And the last line and or doorway is to acknowledge sides in order to realize middle. To acknowledge sides in order to realize middle. That's why both sides head you back to your nothingness. So saying something is good or bad, you're doing that to acknowledge sides. And in this acknowledging of sides, you have to say, wait, I'm somewhere in the middle of these sides. So sooner or later, you give up the whole side play and give the middle play. That's the whole point. But that deals with your whole awareness, though, and realization of self. Recognizing that something is there, you're acknowledging that something is there, some space of that gap is in there. It's right there in the middle because you're bouncing from side to side. So that means, evidently and ultimately, that you're somewhere in the middle. Am I as I am, as you are, just as you are. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, keep you in vision. I'll keep you in vision. 1, 0.